Is it okay that it's so dark behind me now?
Good evening, New York City and my listeners around the world. I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host of Luminous Life. We're live here in New York City, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am so excited to be here. It's another fantastic show here on Luminous Life. And I just am just excited to bring on such an incredible guest. I have someone who is pretty amazing and really bringing a big impact to the world and transforming people's lives in an incredible way. And as many of you know, Luminous Life is really about taking those human experiences and really bridging them to our deeper life's lessons, the lessons that we need to be able to move through in order to really find something bigger or reach for something more extraordinary or transform in a way that we've, never could have imagined we would. It's these incredible experiences that often catapult us into new ways of being, new ways of understanding, new ways of seeing ourselves. So in Luminous Life, we always invite our guests or on solo shows to share these incredible stories and life challenges or obstacles that they've been through that have impacted them, where they have taken their wounds and they have turned them into wisdom and are now really doing some game-changing things. So I'm so excited, and really before we begin, like we always do, I want everyone to just take a nice big deep breath and allow for the day's emotions or feelings or experiences to just leave the body and clear our mind and open our hearts and ears to the messages you have come to receive tonight. It's no coincidence that you're here. There's a reason that you're here, and opening yourself up to that, you allow yourself to really experience the broadcast to its fullness and to the capacity in which your higher self is looking to experience for itself. So let's get started. So I want to introduce to you guys an internationally known medical and emotional intuitive who has had over 30 years of experience, and she comes by way of Florida, and she's going to be talking to us about her story, about her transformation, about her life's work. And she has an incredible way of working with people, something I have never heard of before, where she actually does symbolic painting. And we're going to hear all about it from Katie Beecher. Nice to have you, Katie. How's it going?
Great. Thank you for having me, Elizabeth.
Oh, you're so welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
That's amazing. Amazing. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What is a medical intuitive and an emotional intuitive? Let's start from there.
The first question I'm always asked.
Yeah.
So, well, a medical intuitive, generally, we all work a little bit differently, but generally can look into people's energy, into their bodies, into their spiritual selves, and tell people what's going on in their lives. For me, some people just work with the physical body, so they talk about root causes of issues, things like that. And I work with the whole person, so it's emotional, physical, and spiritual. And most of the time, people will come to me with symptoms and want to know the root cause. They want to know what they can do to remedy what's going on. Sometimes they'll know their diagnosis. Sometimes they have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're really sick. Other times they're really not really sick at all, and they want to know how to connect to their intuition or help with relationships or being stuck, moving forward in some way or something like that. So
Wow.
um, yeah, it's everybody, all different kinds of problems, and that makes it really fun.
Yeah, because you mentioned too that you have these empathic and really mediumship like skills, and so I know in the work that I do that really helps to be able to read people. And so is that the way that you actually get to the bottom of or the root of what's going on with someone?
Well, I'm always asked, how do you do this? Because when I get someone's name and age before I meet with them or see them, talk to them, anything like that, and I create a pretty long individualized report
Mm.
based on the chakras, but only because then I cover everything about the person. And it's, as I said, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And I concentrate on the name, and I just ask my spiritual guides for the information that I need to help that person.
Wow.
Yes. And then
You don't
as
even
part
need
of
a
that,
picture of them? You don't need a physical picture? You just need the name.
no, just their name, and I can actually do it on a first name, and it's not a birthday, it's just their age. And then after I create the report, I create I call it an intuitive soul painting.
Yeah.
Or again, I just think about their name and ask. Usually, my guides will send me a color
Mm.
first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I work in watercolor, so they tell me sometimes to put water down first so the image is more blurry or whatever it is. But I usually see loosely what the image is going to be. So sometimes it's a figure, sometimes it's an animal, sometimes it's a plant, a tree, sometimes there's a symbol. But I just start putting color down,
Mm-hmm.
let them guide me as far as what to do with it. And um, the with the reports, um, I send that to them,
Yeah.
before we meet, and we go over that together.
Oh,
And
wow. That's so
yeah,
cool.
most of the time people say, "Oh my God, this is spot on. How did you do this?" And I don't really know how I do it, but I just do. And but I get more information, as we talk. And then the paintings are fascinating because I don't really know what they mean
Uh-huh.
until after I've talked with the person. I
Oh,
get more
yeah.
information the whole time.
Oh, wow.
They often will confirm information in the report, but also give us entirely new information through symbolism.
Wow. So can these paintings cover on like medical illnesses or just, like emotional things that they're going through or in from some way like a spiritual standpoint of like past lives or things? Does it just cover a whole gamut of stuff? Like,
Literally everything, and the report as well. So it's anything that could contribute to your health in any way, meaning trauma, um, childhood events,
wow.
relationships, your intuitive ability, empathic ability. I mean, literally anything. The,
Wow.
and I often tell people things that they've never told anyone before because a lot of things come up, that are really personal. Like it becomes a really personal experience, and people have told me it's sort of like a year of therapy in an hour.
Wow, that's incredible. So
Yeah.
you're really going in deep and you're giving them really a physical interpretation in terms of the painting, the symbolic painting, to look deeper into themselves. And you utilize guides and spiritual energy to do that. So my question is, were you just born this way or like, how did you get to this? I mean, like, this is incredible. I mean, I find it just amazing. So there must have been something that you experienced yourself that guided you here or led you to this career. Is it true?
Yes, a series of things. When I was young, I always picked up on people's energy. I always felt like I could relate to older people more than people my own age. I always sort of knew what people were thinking and feeling, and always picked up a lot of negativity,
Mm.
which was not comfortable at all when you're young.
Yeah.
And, and it made me turn away from these abilities I had. So I didn't really know what to call it. I didn't have anybody to talk to about it
Sure.
because it was just kind of strange. And I was a pretty shy child, actually. I'm not now, but I was. And so I didn't really know what to do with it. And the more I picked up negativity and even evil, the less I wanted to do with it.
Right.
But as a result of being bullied when I was 10 and 11, and as a result of being raised in a dysfunctional family, I developed a pretty severe eating disorder.
Okay.
Which was the best thing that ever happened to me.
You don't hear a lot of people say that, but
Right?
I know I can relate in my own personal journey. That's wow. So what kind of disorder did you have? I mean, was it just a classic restriction, or did you do binging? What did you use to cope with all this trauma?
It started off with restriction and more on the anorexia side, and then it turned into full-blown bulimia, throwing up 3 times a day.
Wow.
So it was pretty severe.
Mm.
And I got to the point where I just said, I can't live this way.
Yeah.
And I actually had a plan to end my life.
Wow.
But I was very close to my grandparents and just felt like if I were to do that, they would be heartbroken. So something in me, and that something I really do believe was this thing that wanted me to do this work eventually.
Of course.
It gave me the courage, if you will, to call my pediatrician. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anyone. I just called and told them what I was doing. And this was in the 80s when no one was really talking about eating disorders. But he said, well, I don't think it's any real big deal. And I'm like, yeah, well, it is a big deal. But he gave me the name of a Jungian therapist, Carl Jung.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this person, it took me a while to call. Took me, I was afraid even to call, but I did.
Of course, because it must have been a tremendous amount of pain. I mean, that's to be in that situation and to be it as extreme as you're describing. I bet there was a lot of fear around, getting help.
Fear, shame, all of it, and I thought I was doing a pretty good job of hiding it, but of course you're never doing as good of a job as you think you are. But so I did call, and that was literally the second best thing that ever happened to me, because I don't know how much you know about Jung and all, but he really worked with people about connecting to their intuition and being whole and using your unconscious and, self-acceptance, self-love. And it was through that I learned to communicate with my intuition, to connect to it, learn about self-love. I really honestly believe that if more recovery programs were based in intuition and self-love, that people would have a better chance of recovery, because I know that's why I got better.
Yeah.
Is learning to connect. So, but through those communications with my intuition, which I later learned were my guides, I kept getting the message that through connection to intuition and self-love and self-acceptance, you can heal from anything.
Wow. You were getting that message at the young age of like 16, 17, 18?
Yes.
That's pretty incredible. You don't hear a lot of people, speaking about that at such a young age. Speaks to your how advanced you are in from a soul level. It's pretty cool.
It really, really was. And I knew that there were things happening through me. I realized that there was something deeper happening and that I was supposed to do something with it.
Yeah.
So I became a licensed counselor and worked very intuitively. That was kind of my way of working, was, again, listening to my guides. And occasionally I would channel someone's loved ones, which would freak me out because I still was not sure what to do with this ability I had that I didn't really tell people about.
And just to pause you there, through that process of working with the therapist, the Jungian therapist, did your eating disorder, did it just dissipate, or did it resolve itself? Just wanted to be clear with that.
Slowly, I slowly lost the urge.
Ah, got it.
Binge and purge. I was overweight at the time, and I became more comfortable with my body. The
Mm.
weight did come off as I learned to intuitively eat.
Mm. And
Uh,
love yourself, I bet. Really accept who you were and let go of that pain.
exactly. And then also in my early 20s, I did go on an antidepressant,
Mm-hmm.
Prozac. Had only been out for a short time at that point. So that helped to dissipate the last of the little urges that were left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I worked very hard in therapy. I was really determined that I was going to get better.
Yeah. And did you eventually get off the medication and totally you didn't need it at
I'm
all?
still on a little bit of it, but a very low dose,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and working on getting off of it the rest of the way. So,
Beautiful. Wow, you've come an incredible way. So you went in and you studied counseling and you became a professional counselor.
yes, yes.
Wow.
I've been recovered from bulimia for 30 years. I'm really proud of that. So,
Congratulations. That's incredible. It really is because I know so many people out there suffer through disordered eating and real tumultuous relationship with food. And to hear it from this spiritual
uh,
perspective is incredible. It really is.
yeah, it's I, I'm not afraid to talk about it, and people are so ashamed of it. And I'm not afraid to talk about the fact that I threw up in plastic bags, and I did really gross things, and it wasn't because there was something wrong with me, or it was just because you get so desperate.
Yeah, and that you can see there was something darker driving you, a real negative belief or a feeling that you didn't know how to get rid of, right?
Right, exactly. And it was really just hating myself and not being able to accept myself and doing anything to run away from that.
Wow. So this chance encounter, your physician led you to this therapist. It opened your eyes to a whole new intuitive way of really seeing yourself, really letting go of this pain and stepping into a new, physical and emotional place of being, right? And then you actually started to head into counseling and do the same for others. So you mentioned you've done that 30 years now.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of crazy, but yes. And then about 10 years ago, my mom got a flu shot and
Mm,
became almost 100% paralyzed and
wow.
blind. And I learned a lot about the pharmaceutical industry and vaccines, and I found out that happens more frequently than they would like you to know.
Are you kidding me?
And
Really? Wow.
it really does. It happens. It happens a lot more frequently than you'd like people to know. Yeah, I've been educating myself for the last 10 years about just toxins and things we put into our bodies and all that, and how chemicals really are so bad. Uh,
Mm.
but I could go on with that for a long time. But the people in the um, I don't like to use the word anti-vaccine community because they're really not. They want vaccine safety, but I met so many wonderful people, and they really helped support me and my mom, and so that was one of the wonderful things that happened. But the other wonderful thing that happened through that is that when you take care of a loved one and you go through something so traumatic, I took care of my mom by myself for 4 years,
Mm.
and that caused a lot of family drama, family problems. There were accusations and things that didn't happen, but that's a lot of what happens when there's, a family member gets sick, and this is not a uncommon story.
Right. And you had mentioned you'd said your family was dysfunctional in your words, right? So
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, you take a dysfunctional family and throw a bomb into it, and it becomes just a bigger shit show.
yeah. A
So,
war zone.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, but what happened was it made me learn more about all these issues and about myself, and it gave me the courage to look deeper into what I wanted to be doing with my life, because what I was doing just didn't it wasn't satisfying that that urge anymore. I knew I needed to go deeper, and I knew I needed to do more. So I ended up taking a bunch of classes actually to figure out where I wanted to go.
Mhm.
And I ended up taking a class with Mona Lisa Schultz, who's a really well-known, excuse me, medical intuitive.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just a 3-day thing. And she ended up, she said, "I'm going to give you a name and age and tell me what you know about this person." And I ended up knowing a lot, much to my chagrin, because I'd barely heard the words medical intuitive.
Right.
And at the end of the first day, she said, "Not sure what you actually do, in your real life, but you should pursue this. So I did sort of a year-long online training with her, and I practiced. And so for 8 years, I've been doing this, and I've really found my thing.
And so that's like taking people who come who may be sick and have like an ailment or something physically wrong with them, or an ache or a pain or a disease, and helping them get to the root of it or the bottom of it, and really clearing it out. And you utilize that symbolic painting that you were talking about, that way of expression, to kind of catalyze the conversation, right? Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah, definitely. We use all that information. We come up with a plan. I don't diagnose because that is irresponsible.
Yeah.
I will identify symptoms. I will identify things that can help. And then I have a team of, maybe natural practitioners or other people that I can refer to to confirm what I've found, or to do additional testing, to help with treatment, things like that. Because at heart, I'm a clinician, and so that's really important to me.
Yeah.
That this is sort of science-based, if you will.
Can you share with us like a short client example, like someone that you've worked with that you saw like a real profound shift in terms of the work that you did?
Wow, so many. Okay, so somebody is coming to mind who came to me she was given a diagnosis of MS. And I had done reading the report on her, and knowing nothing. And mold came up for her, and also some Lyme type stuff, some autoimmune type stuff, as far as physical.
Yeah.
And so, as we're talking, she told me about this MS diagnosis, and I said, and she hadn't had an MRI, but it was just sort of, the doctors had said, well, we don't really know what this is, and we're kind of ruling out other stuff. So we think this might be it. We're going to do an MRI, but we don't know. And of course, that is terrifying.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it triggers someone to feel just like so scared, like what's going to happen to me?
God, yeah. And it was preventing her and her husband from moving, because if you have a serious illness that is going to be debilitating, that eventually may kill you, your whole life stops.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, this is what I'm getting for you. And I'm not picking that up. I'm not saying it's not there, and I want you to continue to pursue what you need to pursue.
Sure.
But these are the people that I trust and work with, who can really do some deep diagnostic stuff in terms of testing for mold and testing for all of these Lyme-like co-infections and things like that.
Sure. So
I always ask people to send me their test results and do follow-up and things. So as it turned out, my guys were right, like they usually are.
I love that.
Right? The doctors had wanted to put her on a really serious autoimmune type drug, anti-inflammatory drug. And she held off until she got more information, which turned out was a good thing. So, she is now well on her way to recovery.
Wow.
She had some brain lesions, which can happen with MS, but can also happen with Lyme and other things. And yeah, she's on her way to a full recovery and getting on with her life, which is pretty great.
That's incredible. And it's interesting you mentioned Lyme, because that's an epidemic. And you had mentioned to me when we had talked before that you also had an experience with it, and you healed yourself.
Well, I helped heal myself. I did work with a naturopath as well. But yeah, I was very fortunate to have worked with my naturopath that I've worked with since I was 17 years old, but he's very experienced. And between what he did and then the work that I did emotionally and spiritually, which again was saying, okay, why is this here? What do you need to learn from it? What do you need to do? And in my case, it was, okay, it's finally time to write that book proposal that you've been planning on writing since you were 16 years old. Get the courage up and do it.
So meaning that when we have a medical condition or a disease or something that's really trying for us emotionally, are you saying that there's a deeper lesson to that? There's a reason behind that we have to see, like we have to like unveil something within ourselves, like deeper?
I truly believe that, and I've seen it so many times, that I believe our symptoms are intuition's way of talking to us.
Right.
And in my mom's case, she had been in a marriage with a not a very nice person, I'll say it diplomatically,
Mm.
for a long time, and had filed for divorce a couple times, had tried to get out, and didn't have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
And it was like her and I talked before she died. She spent 10 years in that condition, but
Mm.
she said she felt like it was the vaccine that sort of gave her the courage, if you will, to finally separate from him, get away from him. And she still had a hard time doing it, but she didn't have the courage herself. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty profound. And like I tell people, you don't want to have a vaccine reaction, or have to get Lyme, or have to get a brain tumor or breast cancer or anything else to learn to listen to your intuition.
Right, right. But the people get there, right? It's like a 2x4 in their head or face, right? And they have these big conditions, and then that's where they may also come to you and be like, I really need the help. But you're also saying, come before that, and let's figure stuff out so we don't have to get smacked in the head and our life completely turned upside down, right?
Yep. I like to call it the feather or the sledgehammer.
Oh, okay. Love that.
To listen to the feather, when it's nudging you, instead of having to be hit over the head with a sledgehammer.
I love that. I love that. That is so cool. So it sounds like through this experience of, your words are, living in dysfunction and then developing the eating disorder, also through that teasing, that you really developed something that was probably quite trying and very painful, but you listened to the feather, as your words say, right? And you found this doctor that really changed your life and put you into a new season of counseling, and then which led you to the medical intuitive that opened up this whole incredible gift for you. It's like
Exactly.
following the dots of the constellation of the universe, right? It's like, wow, everything just connected for you. That's pretty cool.
It really did. And I feel like I'm doing the work that I was meant to do. And I really love studying quantum physics, or learning about quantum
Mm.
physics, because I cannot explain how I know these things about people. It's not stuff on Google. People have said, well, you can just look them up, or you can just, they have social media, or you could do a search on them. And it's not stuff that's on there. It's deeply personal stuff. And I get a little nervous every time I do one, before, and everybody always says, this is spot on. How do you do it? And to me, I really like to understand things. So I love learning about quantum physics, because they talk about this vast field that we're all connected on,
Yeah.
and that. So to me, that's just my explanation.
I love it. I love it. And I forgot to mention, but I said you're internationally known, and partly because you were featured on Goop, right? That's Gwyneth Paltrow's magazine, and now a Kardashian, Kourtney Kardashian's poosh. I mean, this is like big time stuff. It's so cool.
I feel very fortunate. Yeah, I've been very lucky, and keep getting more attention, which is great.
Great. So did that open up doorways for you to meet like even more people in that realm of celebrity who are interested in utilizing these medical intuitive skills, or healing in an alternative way? Is that something that you're
Definitely,
finding?
definitely. And, CEOs of corporations and athletes and all kinds of things. So yeah, I just keep meeting more people, and there's so many people who are open to this.
I
It's
love it.
getting bigger.
So, Katie, you mentioned you have a book and that you've been writing, and part of why you had Lyme disease was like, okay, it's time for me to really like slow down, sit down, and start writing this, because that disease will knock you off your feet. So you had a lot of time, I bet, to lay down and contemplate what the book was going to be
Right.
about. So, what is it? What's the story? What's the background of this book?
So I've always known I was supposed to write this book. Not really sure exactly what the direction is, but it's about what I do as a medical intuitive. It's was sort of I was trying to convey the individual experience on a larger level, which, as you can imagine, is a little bit tough. But I'm teaching people sort of how I do my readings, and then using a lot of these tools and skills at home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's information from my guides. It's specific tools from Jungian counseling,
Oh,
which
wow.
that's really not out there. There's a lot on Jung, but there's not a lot on how to actually use the tools. Um, and so it's, step by step stuff about using checklists and my chakra charts to understand what are your issues,
Got it.
what to work on as an individual. What do you need to look at instead of looking at protocols, it's what direction do you need to go in as far as your needs. But actually, stuff that I really do with my clients, how do you connect with your intuition, my specific tools,
Oh, wow.
things that I really do that you can do,
On
you
your
can do
own.
at home.
Mm-hmm.
And there are definitely tips and things about curing is not a great word, about treating and helping with specific illnesses and specific issues also. But it's sort of a combination of, a little bit of a reading at home done by you, connecting to your intuition,
Oh,
strength.
cool. So you're like self-empowering the reader to kind of go on the journey themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
A big part of my every single reading is strengthening people's intuition, helping them connect.
I love that. I love that because that's what transformed your wound into wisdom. It really changed your life there. So when do you plan for the book to be out? Any time or
Well,
just letting it
finally finished
flow?
the proposal.
Uh-huh.
My agent now has it, and my agent's getting ready to release it into the publishing or the editing world. So we're hoping that it will get picked up soon. We have some people interested in, and go from there.
Excellent. So, Katie, how do people get a hold of you, in touch with you, check out more about what you do and get a feel for you on a more personal level? So, what are your handles, your social media handles?
So on Instagram, it's just Katie Beecher Medical Intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a professional Facebook page. Also, it's Katie Beecher Medical Intuitive, very imaginative. And then my website's probably the easiest, and there's the most information on there. But please follow me on Instagram and Facebook, because I put up things daily, tips from my guides or about health and wellness and things. But my website is Katie Beecher,
Mm-hmm.
KatieBeecher.com.
Perfect.
And there's different options for readings and counseling and all that kind of thing up there. There's blog posts and different articles. Some, the Poosh articles are up there. The Goop articles are up there.
Wonderful. So
Things
you're a
like that.
blogger too. That's so cool. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, excellent, Katie. I have so enjoyed hearing from you today. And really, I know my listeners, you just were taken for such a wild ride to hear the things that you've been through and the magnificence you've discovered within yourself. I find that just incredible and what makes our life journey so powerful. So thank you so much. And are you going to be in New York at all anytime soon, or are you coming by?
And what I want to tell your listeners too is, just because I'm a medical intuitive doesn't make me special. I'm just a normal person, and we all have medical intuition. We can all connect. So please just keep listening to yourselves. So
I
just want to
love
get that.
that. I love that. And I usually say, give us a couple sentences if there's somebody out there who maybe is, going through something, maybe they have a medical condition. What kinds of advice would you give them right now? Like, a couple sentences of what you could encourage them to do for themselves.
Connect with your intuition and find self-love. It all gets down to that.
It's just
All of,
that simple.
well, it's not simple because it's hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to find self-love if you're not used to it or don't really know what it is. But you know what? Do the work. It's worth it. Ask for help. Do the work. Because if you have that self-love, you can really heal from anything. I really believe that. It's worth the work. It
I
really
love
is.
that.
And
So
you can do it. You can do it. There's nothing special about me that there's really not. I'm just a normal person. Well, normal who can talk to dead people, but
I think that's really special. I think that's
it is
actually
pretty
really
cool.
cool.
But
Yeah.
so yes, I'm going to be in New York in November. I'm going to be doing a series of pop-up workshops. I don't have the dates yet, but if you go on my website, you can sign up for my mailing list.
Okay.
And in October, I will be at the grand opening of the Miami store of the House of Intuition, which is their first East Coast store. And again, it will be up on my website when we have a date.
Oh, cool. So awesome. We can see where you're at and around the world and what you're doing. That's amazing. Okay. So I'll definitely put your website up on the link here. And Thank you so much. What an incredible interview. And I'm so excited for your future and what you're doing. I just think it's amazing. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
You're welcome. All right, guys. We're signing out here in New York City. This is Elizabeth Tripp and our special guest, Katie Beecher. Love and light.